All right, so my name is Peter. I'm a head of design in RI Hunter, the same company as Modelis, and I'm gonna talk to you about setting up outcomes for continuous discovery. There's something happening in our company right now, which I believe is really beautiful. It's this change, this transformation. And basically, just to give you like a TLDR, too long didn't read. What we are trying to do is shift the power from management towards people who actually make the product. I'm going to talk about that, about our experience, and how maybe you can do that also in your companies. So that's it. Okay, so let's start with a few basics first, just so that there's a lot of different people here, probably from different backgrounds, maybe different roles or positions. I just like to get us on the same like baseline of what we know and what we are talking about here. Okay, so I put together this diagram yesterday actually, and it represents like my worldview of how value is created in product management and product delivery. I could spend like probably hours talking about it, but I only have 20 minutes, so I'll just walk you through it. Hopefully, like it will make sense by the end of this slide. So let's start with the basics. I believe really strongly that best products and services are built through either rapid technological innovation, like when internet was made, for example, or through deep understanding of your customers. Ideally, that's both, right? Like strong technological background, but also you understand what your customers want really well. And to kind of accomplish this, I think you need both discovery and delivery loops in your teams to ensure this innovation and value shipping is happening, right? What I kind of found from my experience, I'm not sure like if you have the same experience, maybe it was different for you. But I think pretty common in companies, at least where I worked, was that either discovery of customer needs isn't happening at all, and is actually based on some hunches or just the vision of one person in the company. Or if it's happening, it's either happening at the start of the projects, start of maybe like you are trying to come up with a new product idea or innovate some sort of a new product loop. But it's usually done by one person. That person can be like head PM or strategist or maybe like lead product person. And what we are trying to do in our hand actually is shift that ownership to teams, actual creators, designers, PMs, or developers who are doing the product every single day from like our strategists or management people. And basically, like my aim in doing this is giving the freedom to designers in my team, but hopefully one day I'll be able to just take like a long vacation, like 2 or 3 months, and go somewhere and they can just do like their work, and I won't be blocking them. I can just lay on the page or something. It'll be pretty cool. So just to walk you through this diagram I started with, I believe like true innovation is based in product vision, it's up at the top. And from that vision, you can break it down into team outcomes and goals. I'm going to talk in more details about that, so don't worry about it if you are not getting it right now. But once you have the goals and outcomes for the teams, there's this infinity loop, right, of discovery and delivery. And basically, discovery is a fancy word, but for me, it just means that you just know what's valuable for your customers. And delivery loop for me means that you are able to ship what's valuable for your customers. And if it's happening all the time, right, this knowing of what customers needs and this shipping, you have a measured impact on those key results that are valuable to you. And it creates a lot of value for the customer, which hopefully is translated into money, revenue, if you are a for-profit company, right? So hopefully, so far so good. Makes sense to everyone, I hope. So this all sounds great, right? Maybe everyone would say that, yeah, this is something that where I would like to work. But why doesn't more companies actually do it, right? So there's just one catch. If we take a look at this like charts of how output teams are usually set up and how outcome teams are set up. At the left in the output teams, I think it's like usually what most companies did for like past 15 or 20 years. If you take big companies, for example, like Microsoft, Someone put together a list of requirements, which were like functionalities. They put it into time, like roadmaps. This month we are shipping this month we are shipping this. And someone in leadership makes all the decisions, right? And key value, how you measure the teams are successful, developers, designers, product managers, is delivery. Like if they are delivering, they are okay. We are giving them their bonus. It doesn't really matter if it's good for the customer that much, well, maybe then loop will get closed eventually when we go bankrupt. But the delivery is value. And what we are actually trying to do, and I've seen this all over the place, so hopefully maybe you are doing it as well, is create outcome teams instead. Where you have, instead of requirements that you get from your boss, you have opportunities all over the place, So what is important for the customer? What are their needs and pains and desires? What they find valuable? And what is the customer context? That's much more important than the functionalities and roadmaps. And instead of those months when you are shipping things, there's goals. What do you want to achieve? What are your products actually changing for the world? Or for the customers at least. And it's not the product leadership or management who makes all the decisions. It's actually the team. So I find it really beautiful. And real value, how you measure the team is great. It's not just delivery, if they are shipping, but it's impact. Like if they are having impact on those goals or metrics that you find valuable, their work is valuable. Right. And I started this slide with saying that there's one catch, right? So what is the catch? Why is not everyone basically doing this? Because it sounds great on paper. I believe the catch are the product goals, or we could call it outcomes, right, as well. That basically means like, what should be the thing that product is changing for those customers, that they are willing to pay so much money for it. And those product goals are like crazy hard to do right, and if you are a leader in your company or maybe a manager, I believe strongly that it's your job to create great outcomes and great goals for those people working in the company. That should be like 80% of your job, I think. So again, coming back to the diagram, I think top is the most important, right? Because if you have a really solid strategic vision, you are able to break it down towards individual parts that you can build teams around. And then those teams, hopefully, you already are employing all these really talented, intelligent people with a lot of potential, right? So if they know where are they going and how are you going to measure their success, hopefully the discovery loop and delivery loop, knowing your customers, delivering what's valuable for them, they should just happen, right? You already got those great PMs and designers and developers. And if you do that right, again, you will create a lot of value for the customer. It should be easy, to get paid for it. Right, so hopefully this all makes sense. Does it? All right, I'll take it. And let's talk a little bit now about how to actually set those good outcomes. I'll give you like a brief of what was our experience like in Arrow Hunter, because we already went through all this process, and I believe like it was successful. We are good on our way to get there, and maybe you can learn like from what we did wrong, and you don't need to repeat those mistakes. So let me start with something I call like a good outcome checklist. What is actually a good enough outcome to give to the people to own? So first point, I think it needs to be based on strong product strategy and vision. I already mentioned it a little bit, but this is something that definitely, in my opinion, product management should own. You have product managers who should be thinking every day about things like, what is our industry like? What do our customers needs? What is their context? What are the pains that are valuable to fix? And based on that, they can create a product strategy and vision, like somewhat into the future, that is easy to break down into individual team outcomes. What happened to us like several months ago is that our PM team, basically Eric, was able to create a great product strategy, which was basically like a mix of customer journey map, like what we want to accomplish for the customer. And it was a really great tool, because first of all, we were able to use it for communication, to talk to all the other departments, and tell them like, what is our product strategy, where are we going? And at the same time, we were able to see we are already strong in this sort of part, but we have a huge gaps, for example, in this part, and we need to invest more and build a team around like getting up to this point. So that's number one. Another one is, I think a good outcome should be anti-fragile. And if you don't know what it means, basically it just means that it gets stronger with stress. Things that are fragile, like if you have a vase and you drop it, it breaks, right? It's fragile. But it's something is anti-fragile, for example, like a tree, right? The more stress you put on it, the stronger it gets. And speaking of outcomes, the way that I mean it is that the worst thing that could happen is if you build a team, of these smart, intelligent people with great potential, and you pivot their objective like every month. That's worst because there's no way they can like dive into that context and make something happen, right? Because you are like pivoting their context all over the place. So I believe outcomes should be somewhat stable. You can tweak it, of course. Like I said, it's anti-fragile, but it should remain essentially the same for at least like 6 months, year, 2 years, if that's possible. The next thing is, I believe it needs to be really well defined, in words, and it should be immediately understandable. And that's really important because like usually the team is not just like 1 or 2 people that you will have a chance to talk to, right? It's developers, maybe there's like backend developers, there's a tester or researcher. And the clearer that you have the outcome, better words that you are trying to describe it, and more easily it can be understood, easier will be your job, to communicate it across the company. So it's really important. Another one is that the way that we build this is that we use OKRs that are tied directly to our company OKRs. We actually played around with different frameworks, like North Star metrics, for example, or HART from Google. But OKRs actually made the most sense for us because we could tie them directly to the company strategy. And the way that we are doing it is that we have a really inspirational kind of vague objective, and then we have very objective, measurable key results that you can actually see that if the numbers are changing, if the metrics are getting better or worse, is not up for discussion. Another one is that it needs to be usable by the team right away. Hopefully you need like a week of explaining so that people are actually using these objectives. And that's really advantageous for you because if you like hire a new PM or new key member of the team, you need to get them up to speed and running really fast, right? You didn't want to spend like a half year explaining the industry context to them. So easier to understand, you can make it, the better it is. And the second part, inspiring the customer problems, solutions, I think is really important as well, because if you have a great outcome, great goal, it should immediately start your thinking, like how I can solve this, what cool solutions can I brainstorm or make with my team. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Last but not least, I think this is something that a lot of companies are actually missing. I believe that your team's outcome should be directly tied to affecting company business goals. And this actually have like 2 sort of views. One is you'll get those stakeholders of the teams back. So if you have maybe like a CEO who's more of a micromanaging type, and he likes to jump on the teams and tell them like build this, buy and then building this. I heard it during the conference last week. If you have that impact, and you are bringing in the money, it's really easy to tell them like, hey, you should back off. They know what they are doing, and hopefully they'll be happy. Another big positive to this is that I think it's highly motivational for the people who are actually making the product, right? Because their work will make more sense. They can see how their day-to-day work is affecting like the company's business numbers, and they'll see what I make every day actually makes sense for the company as well. So I believe it's like more enjoyable, for people making the product as well. So just to summarize, if you have great outcomes or great objectives for the teams, it gives them structure and scope so that the other people feel like their work has strong foundations they can build on, they can work on every day. So just to give you like an example, I just took this from there, from one of our teams. And we can see that the objective here is that product performance management, which is basically like a category of our product, becomes customers' habits as the objective. Like I said, if we go through the checklist, I believe it is inspirational, it is easily understandable, by everyone. And you can check out the key results that the team came up with here. The percentages of companies who are engaged weekly, percentage of companies created at least one segment on list, user satisfaction, bug score. So I think this is a pretty good example. Of course, we are picking all the time, but hopefully, for example, if you took a designer, developer, product manager who are in the company and told them like next year, this is going to be like a bulk of your work. Can you think of the solutions and problems that are interesting to solve there? They should come up with something which should get them thinking.
Sure.
So let me tell you like about our experience, what kind of worked for us. I think what's really cool is if you collaborate on things more than usually product leaders are used to. Back when we started this, during this summer, the original plan actually was to make everything, like hook up everything in product leadership, and then eventually just introduce it to product teams. And after a while, we kind of realized, hey guys, like, I don't think this makes sense because we are trying to give all this ownership and power to the teams, but we are still trying to tell them like what to do. What if we invited them to the process? And that's actually what we did. We didn't create those objectives or create those key results. We did like really challenging and long workshops, but I believe it was really worth it, where like our product leadership and the team came up with the objectives and key results, and metrics that were interesting to us. So that example I just showed you is something that actually team heavily contributed towards. And obviously that's great, also because of the ownership. It's like that IKEA effect that people feel much more comfortable with things that they helped create it, right? It's not just like my boss told me that this is what I should do. Next up, we set up what we call a coaching board for when teams need help. So what happened for us is that probably like the rest of you, we had our one-on-ones with our team members, right? So I'm a head of design. I talked to our designers. Adam is a head of product management, so he talked to product managers. Dave is a CTO, so he talked to developers. And after a while, we kind of realized that this doesn't make much sense because we are kind of pulling them in different directions, right? It wasn't like a one unified view of what they should be doing. Like maybe I told them something, focus on something, then Adam told them focus on something else, and it didn't match. So we tried to sort of like democratize the process and reflect the product trio, working in the team. So we have like PM, designer, and developer there. Now we are doing like a regular meeting where we sit together, and it's reflected in the leadership layer. There's a head of product, head of design, CTO, and we are trying to talk to people. It's their time, so they can bring either problems or interesting customer insights. And if they need help or they wanna like run something by us, they can use the time for it. So it's much better system than just doing like one-on-ones. Next up is giving people enough care and making enough time for them. This is super important. Kind of sounds like, sure, it's like what I do every time. But for example, I have a lot of friends that are doing like a leadership positions in design in big companies. And I always ask them, how much time a week do you dedicate to your designers? And usually it's just like single digits, of hours. I think that really sucks, for people coming to the company to actually learn how to do it properly. I believe if you're a like product or design leader, you shouldn't be so much focusing on like the how and what you are trying to do, but you should be really investing the time to your people, either through like coaching or trying to come up with like sources that would help them and basically just making time for them. And of course, we might be asking, that if we give so much power to the people and so much ownership, how do we ensure that it actually works out in the end? Because we are still building one product, right? We can split into different teams. So This is still a process for us, right? Because it's a new thing that we are changing right now. But what we are doing kind of is that we try to do a sanity check in product leadership every month or so, where we are asking ourselves, we have all these goals, and are they actually helping us achieve our company vision? Or what's even better is that are these individual parts still building the whole that we want? So I'll give you an update next time if it's working out or not. So far, so good. Okay, so I'd like to wrap things up. Hopefully you'll use Slido and ask me any specifics, or you can catch me here later. Probably by now you kind of feel that I believe really strongly that product leadership's main job isn't to actually make products, but facilitate innovation and value delivery that happens efficiently in the company. And a really good tool for us that we are using right now is good outcomes, which I showed you. And if you are on the other side of the barrier, and you are either a PM, designer, or a developer, you are not in the leadership, and you are trying to make sense of this whole mess, of continuous discovery and building great products. This is an advice that I have for you. Think if you feel like innovation or doing things better, doing big things better for your customer and understanding them should happen more. And if you believe that yes, maybe think about how your results, or the things that you are shipping could be tied to business metrics of your company. And try to have that conversation with your managers and push them to create well-defined goals that will hopefully help you tie it together, so you can actually focus on outcomes and not just outputs, like releasing the next feature. And for the product leaders here, or maybe like aspiring team leaders, managers, I would give you this advice, hopefully you spend a lot of time picking out your star team, your product managers or designers or developers, and they should be the super talented people, full of potential, that are curious, that are willing to learn. And I really would like to give you this advice, like give them great boundaries, great outcomes, and then get out of their way and let them do their job. They're already super smart, they just need your help. They don't need you to tell them like what to build. Right, that's it. Thank you for your attention. Never stop doing it.